Hi, and welcome to this video on how to enter the 4 specific types of problems into Statcrunch. The 4 problems that we are working with in Chapter 5 would be the Z statistic, the T statistic, the proportion, and the variance stats problems. So I wanted to just make a quick video to show you how to enter each of these into Statcrunch. So I'm starting with question number 3 from your homework, which asks us to complete a 95% confidence interval for mean weekly alcohol consumption for males and females. It gives us some information in this table, such as the sample size for each group, the mean for each group, and the standard deviation for each group. And so I want to bring up my Statcrunch window. This is a large sample Z statistic problem. So underneath stat, I'm going to do Z stats. I'm going to do one sample. And then since this problem gives us the summary data, I'm going to do with summary. And the first group we're going to do that it asks us to do the males group. And so the sample mean that it gives us in this problem for males is 16.76. So I'm going to type that into Statcrunch. The standard deviation it gives us is 13.58. And the sample size for the males group would be 125. I'm going to change my option to confidence interval, and this is asking us for 95%, which is already given in the box. We don't have to change anything, and I'm going to hit compute. And you see that we are matching the correct answers for this males section of this problem, the lower limit being 14.38 and the upper limit being 19.14. So that's how you would enter a Z statistic. I'm going to move on to question 5 to quickly show you how to enter a T statistic. And so this question gives us the data, and then it asks us to construct a confidence interval for the population mean. And so what we're going to do with this is take our data and open Statcrunch. So that little window allows us to open the data in Statcrunch, puts it in there for us so we don't have to type it in. Then we're going to go to Stat, T-Stats, one sample, but this time we're going to choose data because we have the data. We're going to tell it that the data is in column 1, and we're going to tell it that we need a 95% confidence interval and hit compute. And so we have our lower limit as 2.43 and our upper limit as 9.57. So this is how you would enter a T statistic problem. I am going to use number 9 for the proportion problem. And so this problem asks us to do a 90% confidence interval for the sample proportion of ice melt ponds with first year ice. So when you do stat, proportion stats, one sample, and this gives us summary information, it's going to ask you about the number of successes and the number of observations. The number of observations would be your sample size. So in this case, it's 510. The number of successes is going to be how many out of that sample size, in this case, were classified as having first year ice, and it gives the number to us at 98. If it did not give us this number, we would take our percentage and we would multiply by the total number in our sample size, and that would give us the number of successes. So we change this option to a confidence interval. We change it to 0.90 and we hit compute. And so we are getting our confidence interval to be 0.1635 and 0.2209. Okay, so that's how you would enter a proportion question. And now I'm going to move on to question number 17 with a variance question. And so 16 and 17 on this homework set are both really similar in that they are variance questions, but what the question actually gives you in terms of information is the standard deviation. And I think that's what throws a lot of students off with this question, is just the fact that we're given the standard deviation, but when we open up Statcrunch and we choose that variance option, it's asking us for the variance. So we need to be very clear that if we are given the standard deviation, and in this case it's 0.19, we have to square that standard deviation in order to get the variance, because standard deviation is variance. The square root of the variance gives us the standard deviation. So when we square 0.19, we get 0.0361. Our sample size in this question is, let's see, 5. And then we are doing a confidence interval of 90%, so we need to change this to 90 and compute. And we end up with 0.0152 and 0.2032. So that concludes this video on how to enter one of each type of these questions into Statcrunch. I hope this has clarified things a little bit more from my overall video for Chapter 5, and this one's just a little more specific for each problem type. So if you have any questions or comments, just send me an email and I will be happy to help you any way I can. Thank you.